we're cutting grass, but it's way too pretty to be inside. Plus, it's game day, so everybody inside is going to be really loud. Hello, my friends, and welcome to my wrap-up for May and June. I haven't really been reading all that much, and so doing a wrap-up for individual months would be kind of a pointless video, so we're going to be combining months. And this wrap-up is going to be for May and June. The first book I read, well, technically I read most of this book in April, but I finished it on May 1st, which is A Vow So Bold and Deadly by Brigid Kemmerer. This one I read from the library. I don't own this one yet, but I will be completing my collection at some point. Hey, Bilbo. And I really enjoyed this one. The first book in this series, Curse the Dark and Lonely, I absolutely loved. That one got 5-star for me. I think that was the first book I read this year. And the last 2 books in this trilogy both got 4 stars from me. So this one is a 4-star read. I really, really enjoyed the series. A lot of people did not like the way this book ended, but I really did. I don't want to say too much because obviously I don't want to give it away, but logically speaking, I think the way the book ended is how the book had to end, because there really wasn't any other logical way for it to end, in my humble opinion. But I was okay with it. I liked it. I don't want to give it away because it's the last book in the series, but yes. And then I read Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. This was a story about Frances and Aled. So Frances is a very high, overachieving, studyaholic girl who happens to have a pretty big obsession with this fantasy podcast called, what is it called? University. And the boy across the street from her happens to be the creator of the story. It's an anonymous creator. No one knows who creates it, but somehow she finds out about it. And the two, I'm so sorry if that's loud, the two of them become very good best friends. And throughout the course of a year, they kind of all go through these life-changing events that kind of leads them to their true path in life. I gave this one 3.5 stars. It was okay. It was just kind of meh. I didn't not like it. I think I'm just a little too old for these coming-of-age teenage stories. I did not like all the pop references that were in it. I didn't like the teen lingo that was in it, and it wasn't for me. I think I'm just too old for it. I did give it that half star bump for 3.5 because it did have really good LGBTQ plus representation in just about every single one of the characters. So that was a plus for me. But overall, I don't know why people love it so much. And then, after a meh, comes probably the best book I've read this entire year, and that is The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. This follows Linus Baker. He is a case manager working for the department in charge of magical youth, and he investigates orphanages for magical children, and his job is to ensure that the orphanages are taking care of the children the way that they're supposed to. And he gets this special assignment to go investigate an orphanage that no one has ever heard of before. It's a top secret orphanage for magical children, and he gets elected by extremely upper management to go and see what's going on, give his final evaluation about whether or not it should stay open. And it's on so this orphanage is on an island, and it's surrounded by a town on the mainland that, well, really the whole world fears and hates magical creatures, magical people. And so through his time on the island, Linus learns how to love and how to be loved is probably the bigger picture that he learns. But I just love every single thing about this book. There's not one thing that I would change. There's not one thing that needs to be rewritten. I think this is a book that every single person on the planet needs to read. It is a story of love and acceptance and just heartwarming and feel good on every single page, and it is just oh so wonderful. So 5 stars, 100%. Alright, and then I read We Are the Ants by Shaun Hutchinson. This is marketed as a teenage boy who is periodically abducted by aliens, and one day he's given the choice by these aliens to save the Earth from annihilation in 144 days. But that's very misleading. That's not what this book is about. This really is just a contemporary coming-of-age story. It deals with a lot of mental illness issues, so mental health, suicide, family drama, all kinds of stuff happening in this book. It was, again, okay. I don't think I like coming-of-age stories anymore. I never came to fully like it, so I probably give it a 3.75 stars. It was okay, but I didn't quite enjoy it. There's not really much to say about it other than it was okay. And it's not at all what it was marketed as. Okay, and then we have another meh book. Maybe that's why I have been in a reading slump, because I haven't really been enjoying most of the books I've read lately. But then we have The Midnight Library by Haig. I gave this one a 3 stars, just flat 3 stars, no bumps for anything. This follows a woman named Nora Seed. She is very, very unhappy in her life, and so one night she commits suicide, but instead of dying, she ends up in this sort of in-between place called the Midnight Library, where she gets to try on different versions of her life, or what her life could have been based on the different decisions that she could have made along the way, to see if she could find which one she would rather be in. And if she finds the one she'd rather be in, she can just stay in that life and not die. She just assumes that life and moves forward. I had such high hopes and expectations for this one, but it just did not work. It fell short for me, and I don't know exactly what it was that I didn't really care for. I just know that I didn't care for it. So much so that I actually stopped reading it. I was just reading the book, and I stopped reading it until the audiobook became available from the library, and that's how I finished it. So I put it down for probably 2 or 3 weeks before I ever finished it. So it really just did not hold my attention. I was hoping that it was going to get better as I went through it, but it just didn't. I know a lot of people really, really love this book, but I'm not sure why. And then lastly, I read Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. I gave this one 4 stars. I did like this one. It was very enjoyable. This is a post-apocalyptic story telling about the interconnectedness of human lives. So this takes place it's actually a multi-timeline story where we have Arthur Leander, who is an actor on stage, and he dies the night that the Georgia flu pandemic takes hold. And from there we branch out into all the people that he knew or that surrounded him in his life in some way or another. And we get stories from them before, during, and after the pandemic takes over. And we kind of just really see how all lives in every part of the world are connected to one another. And I think this story had much more of an impact reading it now after having gone through our own pandemic than it would have if I had read it before. You know, we learned what they learned in this story. We learned how dependent we are on people like grocery store workers and cargo truck drivers and trains and all of those people that keep society going, but then also those artists and the creators that help life be more than simply an existence. And so we kind of just explore that whole idea. This book is definitely more theme driven rather than plot or character driven. So those are all the books I read in May and June, which was not very much considering it was a 2-month wrap up, but in any case, there it is. And I thank you so much for being here, and I hope that means I see you soon.